Following the release of the new trailer for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the cast and crew of the film have revealed some new tidbits of information about the movie, with a few pretty major new reveals that I wanted to discuss. If you like what I do here and want to show your support, be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. Enjoy the video. And welcome once again back to Ape Nation, your #1 source for all things Planet of the Apes on YouTube. My name is Josh, and today we are talking once again about the brand new trailer for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes that was recently released, as it was just followed up by a slew of new quotes and pieces of information about what we can expect from the movie. Multiple outlets have released new interviews with the cast and crew, most notably Wes Ball and Owen Teague, and I wanted to go over and give my thoughts on all of the major highlights. If you'd like to read any of these pieces in full, you can check them out at the links down below in the description of this video. The first thing that we learned is that Wes Ball enlisted Josh Friedman, who worked on the Avatar sequels, to help write the script for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes due to the epic nature of what he wanted to do with the movie. This is not really surprising to me at all. We already know he was involved with the script along with Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, so it's not surprising to learn that this is the reason why, but it is promising. The epic scale and scope of the Avatar films is one of the things I love so much about those movies, the epic feel of it all, along with Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver coming in to help him work on the script and build out this Apes world that we already know and love. I think it's going to be really great. I'm glad that he brought him on board for that very reason. Hopefully it translates to the movie when we see it in full, but judging from the trailer, I think they did just that. The next bit of information that we got is something that I think is really cool and really interesting and actually very exciting. As a bit of a nerd about all things film and visual effects technology and how all that behind the scenes stuff works, is that this movie did not use the volume technology at all. For those who do not know what the volume is, it's a type of technology that was developed for The Mandalorian, which is the Disney Plus Star Wars TV show. And I'm not an expert about all this stuff, so I might be botching the way I actually describe how it works. But essentially how it works is they are projecting the backdrop of the scene onto a wall, and it is moving so that the actors on set are able to actually see where they are and interact in such a way, as opposed to using green screens or blue screens that will just put the background in there later. It's a very revolutionary technology that has only been around for a couple of years now, and it's gotten better and better. But for me personally, I do think it has its limits, and I think a lot of people feel that same way. So I'm glad that they didn't use it. And what they had to say about it was, all we did was mocap volume, that's the thing, it's gotten blurry. It used to be the volume was just mocap stage, and now volume has become the Mandalorian 3D screen stage, so now it's confusing. It's not that. We didn't do any of that stuff. We basically shot on location, as you can see there, or it's full CG. Characters like the Avatar did. We're closer to Avatar than, say, what the Mandalorian is doing. Again, I'm all about this. I'm glad that they're doing this. That's the way they handled it on the first 3 Planet of the Apes films, and that's how they're continuing to do it in this one. I'm not against the volume being used when used sparingly and for certain moments, but I'm personally kind of over it. I think it should only be used when absolutely needed. There's certain movies, I think the Batman used it in a couple of shots and it looked really great, but for the most part, if you can do it on an actual set or can do it just making a full CG sequence, I'd rather you do one of those, especially with movies like this or with Avatar. The volume has its place, but I just don't quite think we're there yet where it could be used to make massive movies like this, at least at the level that they should be made on. And then continuing to talk about the look of the film and the environment of it all, Wes Ball wanted to make this film feel as real as possible, saying that I wanted to go back to that lush, beautiful world that underneath is haunted with the remains of our existence. I think what he's referring to is the way that the entire environment of this movie looks like an Earth that has been decimated, an Earth that is no longer one ruled by humans, but you can still see, as he said, the haunted remains of humanity and human existence and human civilization, but it's almost all completely gone at this point. And I like that we've seen that in the trailer. It looks great in the trailer. I'm excited to see how it ties into the movie, or if it's utilized in any sort of story way, or if it's just more of a world building backdrop kind of element of the whole thing. thing, but we will see. Now getting into some information about Noa, the main character of the film, played by Owen Teague. First thing we learn is that he is a member of something called the Eagle Clan, which Owen Teague describes as essentially isolationist. They have their borders and they really keep to themselves. Don't really have much to go off of here, but I am interested in learning more about the Eagle Clan, if they have any other clans that they talk to or connect with, or if there are rival clans. You know, we'll see. Maybe Proximus Caesar's clan is a rival clan. We'll see how that all plays out, but that is interesting to learn. The next little tidbit we learn about Noa is that this is already something that we knew about him, but that he's just entering adulthood. He's in that young adult stage of his life. There's a quote from Owen Teague saying that he and his friends are about to have their coming of age ceremony. It's their 8th bar mitzvah, really. Then Noa gets thrust into this crazy unexplored world that he's been sheltered from his entire life. He has to go on this journey to get his people out of some trouble, but in the process learns a lot about what's really out there. The kind of driving thing for him was curiosity and this wonder that he feels for all the stuff he's learning. This just plays more into a lot of what I've already talked about with Noa in my trailer breakdown video that you can watch on the channel right here. He just sounds like a character that is really compelling. He's really someone who you're going to want to root for. He has that naivety, he has that youthfulness, and like Owen Teague said, he has that curiosity that's driving him. So really excited to learn more about that and see that play out on screen when we see the movie, when we get to know Noa a little bit more. And then finally, the big thing that Owen Teague talked about in regards to Noa and his character is that he is, at least what they're saying, is that he is officially not related to Caesar and he is a completely original character. We have another quote from Owen Teague saying that Caesar's legacy plays a part in this film because that's the world and Caesar's kind of the father figure of the apes of this universe. But this is a new generation. Personally, I'm all for this. I've said before and I'll say it again, I like new things. I like original things. I like moving stories forward. We don't need to constantly tie things back into the old movies. We don't need to have every character be connected to someone else or be related to somebody else. If he does end up being related to Caesar, if there's some big reveal, I'm fine with it as long as it's handled well. And I still think there's a really good chance that that is what ends up happening, is that this is them hiding the fact that he is related to Caesar. But taking this at face value, I am excited to hear this and I'm really happy that this is a completely original character that is not related to anyone we've seen before. Moving on from Noa to another character who I'm really excited about, Proximus Caesar. Something that was talked about by Westball is that Proximus Caesar uses Caesar's name on top of contorting his message and using it to do harm. He uses it to rally different clans to work for him, and he's really fascinated by humans. We saw that element of him being really interested in humans and human technology in the trailer, and then as for him rallying different clans to work for him, I think that's really cool and it's really terrifying. Just adds to him as a villain, adds to that impact that he's going to have as this massive antagonist in the story and the kinds of things that he's capable of. A quote from Westball: "You get to see how legends and religion to some degree play a part in the creation of powerful figures. It's a really smart story to be telling right now." And I couldn't agree more with him. I think that is a really smart story to be telling right now. I think that is something that's very relevant to today and a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. And I'm really happy that we're going to see a character in a movie this big, and I'm really happy that they're continuing doing things like that in the Planet of the Apes movies and doing it through characters like Proximus Caesar, which again just makes him all that more terrifying because he feels all that more real, because he is very similar to people that we have in our world throughout human history. I'm really stoked that they are going in that direction with this character. And then as for the human fascination side of things, Westball talked about how he's fascinated by what humans were and how they fell so far, so he studies them. He knows more about humans than any other ape in our story. I think that's something new as far as villains go and as far as characters in this saga go. When you look at the original series, they all don't know anything about humans aside from they're just dumb mute animals. When you look at these new films, obviously we haven't gotten to a point where humans are extinct or become what they are in this movie yet. So you now have this place in time that we've never explored, which is only a few hundred years removed from when humans fell. You have this character Proximus Caesar who's fascinated by them. He wants to study them and maybe see what went wrong so he can take what they did and do it better, and at least maybe learn what they did right, but then fix what they did wrong and make a better society for apes. But as we've seen, that's not all he's out to do. He seems like he has a much more sinister agenda than just that, at least from what we are seeing so far. I'm really into it. I really love what we're hearing about Proximus Caesar so far. Another little tidbit we got is that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes takes place on the west coast of the USA, so similar to the first 3 films. I don't know if it's going to be in San Francisco. There wasn't an exact location, but it was confirmed that it takes place on the west coast. If I had to guess, it will probably still be in the same area relative to what we got in the first 3 films. Maybe that will tie into some locations we revisit, if we revisit any, but we shall see when the movie comes out. And then as far as Caesar's legacy and Caesar's impact on this story, there's a quote from Wes Ball saying that we got to play around with the idea of what has happened to Caesar's legacy, what has survived. The buildings are dissolving away, but what has happened to Caesar's stories, his legacies, and his teachings? I really love hearing this. I'm happy that Caesar is going to be acknowledged in some way, or at least it sounds like he's going to be acknowledged in some way. I'm happy that they're utilizing what Caesar did, his ape society, and how it built towards where they are at now. It sounds like we're probably going to have little references here and there to Caesar, or at least his apes or that era of apes in some way. I don't know if we're going to get any flashbacks or anything like that. I doubt we're going to get any flashbacks like directly seeing Caesar, but it is cool that we are getting more confirmation that the legacy of Caesar is very strongly felt throughout this movie, and you can feel his impact with these new characters and what it means for them in the story that they're going on. And then as for something that hasn't been discussed too much, but it's fun to hear about, is the Easter eggs that we might see in this movie. Quoting from Wes Ball, "You will not see any Statue of Liberty in this movie, but there are Easter eggs. There's a ton of them, all the way down to the sounds that we literally took from the 68 version. There are specific things that I think some of the Die Hard fans will really appreciate. And that's me. I'm Die Hard fan because I really appreciate that. I love that they did that, taking sounds from the original movie and using it. The sound design and the sound effects and the overall soundscape of the original film is part of what makes it so iconic and stands out so much as the film that it is. And taking some of that and implementing it into this film, I don't think it'll be done that much, but just doing it at all I think is really cool. So I'm really excited to hear that. And I'm also really excited to see what other kind of fun Easter eggs there could be. There's been tons of Easter eggs in the Rise, Dawn, and War for the Planet of the Apes, so hopefully this will continue the trend of having really fun, really exciting Easter eggs. And then finally, this is the big one, the one that will hopefully put this rumor to bed once and for all, unless it turns out that this is all BS and it's a cover and it ends up being not true. But for the time being, I'm taking this at face value, and that is the confirmation that Mae is not an astronaut. And not only is she not an astronaut, there are no astronauts or time travel whatsoever in this movie. That being said, the film does touch on some elements of space exploration, which Wes Ball talks about right here. This fascination with space is in the DNA of the movies. That's what we touch on essentially. There's more to come. If we're lucky enough, there are more ideas to come in 2 and 3. From the very beginning, space is obviously a very huge component of this thing. But I'm not saying there are time traveling astronauts in this movie. There's none of that, but it's an idea in the movie for sure. So it tells me that that's probably something that they may explore in a future film down the line. I don't know, but for the time being, I'm taking this at his word that there are no time traveling astronauts in this movie. There's no space travel, there's no space exploration, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Me personally, I think it just doesn't have a place in this story that they're telling, maybe in the second one or the third one or whatever trilogy comes after that, but I don't think it has a place here, and I'm glad to hear that. At least, again, this could be a total lie and it could end up being Wes Ball just covering up a big secret reveal that happens at the third act of the movie. I don't know for sure, but I am taking it at face value, and I think it's a good call to not have her be an astronaut. We'll see when the movie comes out, but from what I've seen so far of the film, from what we've seen in the trailers, from what we know of the story, it just doesn't seem like the right approach for her character. But it does raise the question of who is she then, and where does she come from? Why is she smarter than other humans? And we are going to find all that out when we see the movie in May of this year. But in the meantime, you can check out the trailer for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I have seen over a dozen times at this point. I'm sure you have as well as my trailer breakdown video, which is available here on the channel. What do you guys think of all this new information regarding Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? What do you think of the new information surrounding Proximus, Caesar, and Noah? What do you think of Wes Ball's comments about Mae being an astronaut, or the fact that there are no astronauts or time traveling through space at all in this movie? Are you disappointed to hear that? Do you think he's lying? Are you happy to hear that? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for checking out today's video here on Ape Nation. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. I'll catch you in the next one, so until then, goodbye.